Very serious.
We could have had the perfect night. Love in the air as I placed your hand into mine. And hearts beating wildly, fueled by the feelings deep inside. And I was wasting my time, 'cause he was on your mind. You had a quick change of heart, so why didn't you tell me how you felt straight from the start? 'Cause now you're not here and slowly my world falls apart. And I fell in love too soon. And I fell in love with you. If I wasn't good enough, would you tell me so? If we're not meant to be, then I need to know. Right now you're the only thing that I really need in my life. So don't say goodbye, yeah. 'Cause you're telling me how we had tried this all once before. Can I win anymore? So why can't you see how I need you more and more every day? Can't believe you walk away. And how far down will I take this pain with me? You'll never see how I'm trying to beg you, please. So don't say goodbye. I need you in my life. So don't say goodbye. If I wasn't good enough, would you tell me so? If we're not meant to be, then I need to know. Right now you're the only thing that I really need in my life. So don't say goodbye. I need you in my life. So don't say goodbye. Yeah. If I wasn't good enough, would you tell me so? If we're not meant to be, then I need to know. Right now you're the only thing that I really need in my life. So don't say goodbye. I need you in my life. So don't say goodbye.
Hello, Sage. This is Cody. Or how? Wait a minute. Is my name Cody or Colby? I'm not really sure. So I will, there in fact, internally. Hang on a second. God damn it. I'm trying to. Wait a minute. I think your name might be Sully. I don't fucking know what your goddamn real name is. Alright, give me a call back. Wait a minute. Sage. I'm sorry. Please don't record this.
I won't.
guaranteed I won't record it. Now, in regards to the fact that it's actually I don't know, voicemail, I can't promise anything. I can't promise anything. Hang on one second. I got to make a quick change in the settings here. Okay. All done. All better. All better. Okay. So, listen. All right. Actually, let me switch earphones. Hang on. Let me get my other earphone on. I'm all over the road here. Turn that one down. Let me turn this one up. Okay. Ooh, that's too loud. Loud. Okay. I got my other earphones on, which is much better because the overhead ones are just out of control. All right. So, welcome all. Welcome to the what am I calling this? The MMAGA. Make Middle America Great Again show. I am your host, the Make Middle American Great Again, prosperous, logical, and high IQ level show. All right. First of all, let's get the party started. Hello?
Hey.
What?
You are not Kevin Costner.
True. I am not Kevin Costner. I am absolutely not. Kevin Costner is too Mid-American for me. But here's what we're going to do. Here's where we are. So, like I said, I told everybody I was kind of, I know this cord's constantly coming up. I kind of explained to everybody that we're going to be moving a little bit more towards logistics and stuff like that. And I do have some things I'm going to talk about today, definitely, in regards to that aspect. I am currently live on TikTok. We're going to see, I have not gotten an error basically telling me danger Will Robinson. It says I'm live, but wait, we'll figure it out. I got to do like 3 30-minute shows or something for me to have some type of access to there. So we're going to go ahead and I think in a month. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And that'll be, so we'll be good to go there. Let me turn this on. And I think that's better now. Okay, yeah, that is on. All right, we're good. So, and I'm all over the road today. Well, I got my truck back. The truck is back. If you've been following the story of the Sage Outcast truck, my truck was broken down for like a month and a half, basically. Well, I could technically drive it, but one of the control arms was bent, and the other one was in real rough shape, like cracked. And that because of rust. We have a lot of rust and salt and sand and stuff that they do up here, because I'm up here in Middle American Maine. So basically, the weather is kind of rough up here, and it beats the crap out of the truck. So I ended up doing having to go get that done, and it started like first the alignment went, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And then it started to pull real bad and shake real bad and stuff in the front, not real safe to drive, right? So I took it to the mechanic and said I was going to get an inspection anyways. I took it to the mechanic, and he's like, yeah, control arms need to be replaced, but we can't get you in for like a month and a half. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. They're like, no. So I only have one vehicle because we don't drive any place. We don't go a lot of places. And my vehicle's like a 2009 F-150, typical freight broker, G-Wagon. And so basically it sat for about a month and a half until I was able to get it to the shop yesterday. So I needed 4 tires. Well, I needed 2 tires, but I just went with 4. Also to pass my annual inspection to prove that it's actually a truck. Because currently it identified as, basically a sore spot in the driveway. But I got that fixed. 2 control arms. So they rented a car for 6 hours, which cost me like $80. And then they called me back and said, okay, yep, your truck's ready to pick up. I said, perfect. And then the car listen, I talked about it a little bit on my other show. The car was so low, I'm like, I don't even think, if there would have been snow on my driveway, we would have been screwed. It's not getting up the driveway. But I took the car back. Truck cost me about $1,200. Hang on, let me think about this. So tires cost me about $150, and I got 4 of those. So that's $3,600, right? And then I've got $1,200. So it cost me about $1,800. About $1,800 for my truck this year in repairs. Between tires and control arms, alignment, and mounting the tires. And some specialty bolts that they had to get for the control arms that they had to get from the dealer. I have no idea on that one. So yeah, about $1,800 it cost me for the truck. So, but I don't have a truck payment because it's it's already paid off and stuff like that. So that was an interesting process. We don't have mechanics up here, to be completely honest. So we don't have enough shops. And the shops that we got, they're like packed. Like if you need work, like if you need an oil change or something, they can squeak you in. That's not a problem. But if you're looking for like seriously, work to be done, that's going to take more hours, like 5 to 6 hours of repairs. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck pushing that out. And that's what I ran into. So I did finally get the truck back, which is nice. It's nice to have that. It looks taller, and I don't know if that's because the car was so short, and I have some type of post-traumatic stress for this situation. But it looks taller. It does look taller. I don't know. Maybe that's just me thinking I'm a baller. Okay, so we have a couple things I wanted to talk about today, and I got a couple videos that I pulled up. So one of the things I'm going to be talking about is... Did I not get the picture? Oh, there it is. Everything on my thing is dark. There it is. I got the picture. All right, let me pull this up. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about... So this week... And I know I've talked about this before, but hear me out, because we're going to go into some reaction videos and stuff to freight. But again, this is the best logistics show in the world, and it's got to be from the middle America aspect of things. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit, because I'm thinking that we have to basically explain something, because there's some confusion there. So the first thing we're talking about is we don't need the Drudge up anymore, because Drudge changed their screen to what it is, and I don't really care about the Havana, Syndro, Wentrum, whatever. I don't care about that weapon. I know what it is, but I don't really care. So, as you all kind of know, in regards to the tariff situation, tariffs affect freight, right? It affected freight in 2018 when Trump did it in 2018 in June. We saw a freight recession for the beginning of 2019, things like that. And then, of course, obviously, we had the COVID kick in and later on. But tariffs basically put a tax on things, which basically lower your rate in which people are buying things, right? Because that's the purpose of the tariff, for you to buy less things, right? I mean, that's kind of what they're saying the tariff was for. And there's many things. Anyways, so this week, we're hoping that this week, the Supreme Court's looking at the aspect is, can Trump use tariffs to basically the way he's using them, right? Now, the correct response should be no, because the Emergency Power Act doesn't give him the power to use tariffs as a tax to collect revenue, okay? That's not what he has the power to do. That's under Congress. So, in theory, the tariffs and the way he's using it, like, everything's not a national emergency, right? You can't say, well, the fact that they're, mistreating the ex-president of, Brazil, and they took him to court to try him, that's a national security measure for us. What? So a lot of these things that is going on are not national emergencies, and the Emergency Power Act doesn't give them the power of that. So if that happens, where they basically say, yeah, tariffs are not, you can't do this. The president can't do this. This has to go through Congress. Congress has to pass laws. Congress is in charge of the purse strings. That's kind of a good thing. That's going to be a good thing in regards to freight. It's going to be a good thing in regards to the price of goods and things like that. All right. So we're going to play this video real quick here. We're going to turn the sound on real quick.
Everybody, from businesses to consumers in 2026. To what extent do they hit small businesses? And then what's the outlook for 2026?
Good morning, Jared. We saw respondents to our survey in the fourth quarter of 2025 pointing to tariffs as one of the biggest problems. Businesses also highlighting pressures from...
Now, if you're on TikTok, unfortunately, I can't play the video. You can just hear the video because TikTok has a hissy fit if you were to play anything. But I am on YouTube, and that's where I'm actually playing this video.
Inflation in the Comerica Small Business Pulse survey as one of the biggest challenges. And so this really is reflecting what we thought we knew about how tariffs were affecting small businesses. Smaller businesses have narrower profit margins. They have less pricing power. And so tariffs are going to be more of a pressure on their operating models and on their profitability than on larger businesses that have more flexibility in how they respond to tariffs.
We were just talking to a previous guest, Henrietta Trey's of Veda Partners. I don't know if you were listening to the discussion, but her thesis is that the Supreme Court could strike down those Trump tariffs from 2025, and that would just give a lot of leeway for consumers, businesses. What do you think about that?
Now, this is the key thing. If you're in business, if you're in logistics, if you're in trucking, if you're in shipping, things like that, if the tariffs basically get struck down, two things technically can happen. First, they're gone. at least the tariffs that were imposed by Trump. And there are other tariffs that are on there, but we also have free trade agreements with Canada, Mexico, and so on, so on, so on. And there has been a lot of people waiting now to determine if these tariffs are going to be struck down. Now, I do believe that you're gonna start to see more things being moved, more purchases and stuff like that, because the first thing they're going to worry about is, well, how is the administration going to counter the fact that tariffs are struck down? What are they going to do, right? So you're going to probably see a push to try to get things in to warehouses and things like that. If there's a gap between what the administration is going to decide to do compared to now that the tariffs are struck down.
Our view is that if the
second thing is, well, he might talk about it.
Tariffs are invalidated, I would expect that the administration would probably look for other ways to implement tariffs to maintain a high average tariff rate. As a macroeconomist, the way I view the impact of tariffs is I look at the average tariff rate across all goods and services imported into the United States. It's a sales tax. And so what is the average increase in the sales tax versus prior to the tariffs? And so it's likely that the government has other tools to implement sector or product specific tariffs that would keep the average tariff rate considerably above what it was at the start of 2025. So probably if we saw those tariffs invalidated, we could see some businesses get tariff refunds. That would be
there's the key right there. Some businesses could get tariff refunds because they're going to have been taxed money that the government basically wasn't allowed to keep. So that would be a tax refund. Now, during the thing, they did bring up, well, how are we going to give all this money back? Well, that's kind of, are you kidding me? You're just going to issue refunds, right? I mean, we do this every year. Tariffs basically say, hey, we overtaxed you, and now we're going to go ahead and give that money back. They do that every year with your taxes. That's why you get money back. They collect your taxes, and they say, oh, we overtaxed you, or you didn't make the money that you were supposed to make, and you're going to get a tax refund. Then they give the money back. It's not a hard process.
A boost to their cash balances going into 2026. But going through the rest of next year, I would expect that the average tariff rate will still remain high, and so imported goods will continue to be subject to tariffs, most likely.
Okay. Hang on. Don't go. Don't you start. And let's do this. So that is one of the things that you're going to want to look at. So if you're in business, if you're in logistics, if you're in trucking, one of the things that you should be watching. Stop. Don't talk. Okay, good. Didn't talk. Is the fact that where are these tariffs going to be, right? Where are they going to leave them on? Are they going to take them off? And what's that plan? Because like I said, a tariff is a tax to basically put on products that eventually eat away at the profits of the business, okay, that the government's now collecting. So that tariff money was supposed to go to the farmers. I don't know if that's been distributed yet, but it's that aspect. And then businesses it's not always the end consumer that pays for it. Some businesses will basically eat the cost and lose profits, which means that they won't have additional profits to be able to grow and hire and expand and things like that. Some of the businesses will just go out of business. They'll just be like, yeah, I can't afford this. I'm out. See ya. And we've saw that. And then eventually some businesses might say, well, our last resort is to raise costs to the consumer, because if we raise costs to the consumer, they might buy less, right? So we have to slowly add more money to the consumer. You can't just hit them with, $1 more. You might have to hit them with 25, 25, 25, 25, right? And these are kind of the aspects that we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of layoffs. We're seeing a lot of cutbacks by businesses and things like that. So that was, let me see here, one of the aspects of that, of the tariffs in regards to logistics. Okay. Do I want to roll into, we're going to get to the brokers are liars. Brokers are liars. And we're also going to get into, let me turn this on. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can definitely see it on YouTube. I don't know if you can see it on TikTok. You're just going to have TikTok. You're just going to have to wait until I get some more hours in on this. Hey, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Same thing on TikTok. Hit the follow button. Because once I'm able to get to enough people where I can start bringing people on, you guys are going to be able to call in and you complain, which is a normal thing. Right now, I just have a phone number, but I'm not putting the phone number on TikTok because it's just easier that way. Eventually, you guys aren't going to use the phone over there on TikTok. You're just going to click the button and click in and come up on the panel. Okay. So I do have that. That was one aspect. Okay, here is the other kind of business aspect I wanted to talk about. And let me pull this over here. And it was, And then we're going to go into the freight brokers are liars, and then you guys can call in and complain and stuff like that if you want. Or maybe not complain. You can ask questions, too. One of the things that basically Trump decided to do was go after Powell and the Fed, right? They're going after the Fed. He wants to bring charges against the Fed because he didn't lower interest rates fast enough. And basically, they're now going after him and looking into investigating him for things that he did or didn't do or stuff like that. Now, this is a bad idea, okay? This is a bad idea. And I'm going to kind of go over this, how this also can kind of affect the way things are kind of done financially in business also. But I'm going to let me play this real quick. This isn't long.
On Sunday, and then I saw the video from Jerome Powell on my phone, and my jaw dropped that the chairman of the Federal Reserve saying he's being charged because he won't set interest rates to satisfy the president. How extraordinary is a statement like this?
Now remember, he says he's going to bring charges because he won't do what the president says.
Mate, it's extraordinary enough. You should have stopped watching football. I'm not going to say it's unheard of. It's unheard of in the United States. And let's cut through a lot of the lawyerly talk and go to exactly what happened, which is basically Trump is threatening the Federal Reserve chair with jail time. And he's doing that because the Federal Reserve chair has been doing exactly what Congress has asked him to do, which is managing monetary policy, setting interest rates in a way that serves the interests of the American people rather than the narrow political interests of the president. We've never had something like that in the United States. Now, let me also put it in the broader context. Yes, this has happened in the world before, that a political leader has threatened the governor of the central bank with criminal charges. That's happened in Argentina. It's happening in Venezuela. It's happened in Russia. It's happened in Zimbabwe. And now the United States proudly gets to join that club of economic success stories.
Ow! That kind of hurts, right? That kind of hurts. This is something that okay, good.
The investigation, it centers on whether Jerome Powell lied to Congress over the renovation of the new headquarters they're building. Now, if cost overruns were a criminal offense, there wouldn't be a politician in the Western world who wasn't in jail. So how substantive do these allegations appear to be that it was dishonest and deceitful?
The answer here is to not even talk about them. They're nonsense on their face. It's a pretext. Everyone understands it's a pretext. When was the last time you saw the Department of Justice go after someone for lying to the Senate? People lie in front of the Senate all day, every day, and everything.
Now, one of the things they're going after is fact. Actually, I can just cover this because I want to cover this other one real quick, and I don't want to. I want to move through this fast. So let me give you the gist of this one. Basically, they're going after him because they're saying that they're going over budget on some of the stuff that they're building in regards to construction for new buildings. But when Trump showed the numbers, he showed the numbers for something that basically happened, a building that was built 5 years ago, and he added that into the numbers, which is obviously ridiculous because that building was already built 5 years ago, so there's no need to go after the Fed. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, we don't need the Fed. I hear this all the time. Disband the Fed or abolish the Fed or get rid of the Fed and all this other aspect of things in regards to that. Now, the reason why this is kind of important, I cover this also as logistics. Right now, in regards to business, we are at a point where businesses find it very difficult to have confidence in our economy. If you're an investor and you're looking at, hey, the United States, should I invest in the United States? Should I build? Should I manufacture? Should I dump a bunch of money into the United States? Well, maybe I shouldn't. Because there's a lot of chaos going on there. There's a lot of, there's none of this consistency. Being consistent, investors like consistency, right? They like those blue chip type things where they can basically invest in and basically say, hey, yeah, let's invest in manufacturing here. Most of the stuff for manufacturing is AI, which is kind of scary. I'll do something with that tomorrow. I have a short clip that most of the stuff that, if you look at the gross, the GDP, most of the GDP is AI and data centers. Like 90% of our GDP right now is AI and data centers for manufacturing, which is kind of scary. But anyways, they want a consistency, right? So they don't want this chaotic movement. They don't want this craziness in regards to politicians fighting over the Fed and tariffs, and they don't know if there's going to be tariffs, there's not going to be tariffs. The ballroom has already been paid for by donations, non-taxpayer money. Well, show me the books. Prove that. We don't go on feelings here. We go on facts. Okay. Remember, we're Middle America. Okay. So basically, I wanted to play this video. I'm going to slow this one down because she talks fast. Well, that's normal speed. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to play this video to kind of give you guys a gist in regards to the Fed and why when you hear a bunch of people say, abolish the Fed, get rid of them, get them out of here. Well, let's find out if that's true.
Justice has opened a criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and the renovation of multiple historic Federal Reserve buildings in Washington, D.C. So you may remember when Trump tried to get a gotcha moment on Powell in front of the cameras over those very same renovations. And Powell, in real time, fact-checked him.
It looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, this is what I was talking about.
I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed. You're including the Martin renovation. You just added. Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it's not a building that's being built. It was built 5 years ago. It was done 5 years ago.
It was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
Yeah, we finished it 5 years ago, and you added it in.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's not new.
In an unprecedented move last night, Jerome Powell posted this video statement denying any wrongdoing. And he said that everything he told Congress was completely accurate. And he said, this investigation isn't about the renovations at all. He said, it's about this.
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
So if Powell is right and this criminal investigation is really about the White House and the president exerting dominance and control over the Fed and eroding the Fed's independence, let me tell you something. We've been down this road before and it did not end well for more than a decade. In fact, if the Fed loses its independence now, it would be very bad for you, your wallet, and the power of the dollar. So,
but wait, do we have actual historical data for this, or are we just feeling it would be bad? Right? Are we just feeling it'd be bad? So here's why, and here's why I'm kind of bringing this up. Let's stop for a second before. Well, let's just go into this.
Gather around, friends, because I'm going to tell you a little story about a man named Arthur Burns. And before
Arthur Burns. Anybody know who Arthur Burns is? Probably not. He's one of those unsung economist heroes we never hear about. They don't really wear a cape or a suit, or sometimes they probably wear a bulletproof vest, but that's about it.
Before I tell you about Arthur Burns, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. The Federal Reserve is the central bank of the United States and is responsible for monetary policy, including interest rates. The Fed's mission is to ensure stable prices and maximum employment. But see, those two things are constantly tugging at each other because the U.S. economy doesn't just stand still. It's always moving and changing. And to make those monetary policy decisions that keep everything in balance, the Fed makes its decision on its own based on the data. Politicians have...
Very important. Very important. So when it comes to the Fed basically says, okay, we're not going on emotion, we're not going on feelings, we're not going on political pressure, we're not going on any of this stuff, we're not going on elections. I know you want to win election. What we do is we are not a part of the government the way that, we don't like that type of aspect, but we kind of work with the government, right, to make life simple. And they basically look at money and they say, hey, how high is inflation? Well, inflation's real high. Well, we need to make money harder to get, so we need to raise interest rates so people aren't just out there throwing money away. Sort of like your credit cards, okay? Donald Trump wants to basically get credit card interest down to 10%, and he's going to pass an executive order or something starting January 20th. Problem is he doesn't have that power, but even if he did, the first thing credit cards are going to do are bring down your credit line. Right? They're going to bring down your credit line. Okay. Well, the Federal Reserve is basically going to say, hey, there's too much money out there. They're going to raise the rate that helps bring down inflation because there's less money. People aren't spending as much, so on and so on and so on. Well, when you start to reach high unemployment because a lot of companies are laying off because people aren't spending money or there's things like that, then you lower interest rates, and that should boost people to spend money and things like that. Okay. Simple process. They want facts. So the Fed basically gets this information and says, well, show me, where unemployment is, show me where inflation is, show me where the cost of goods are, and they take all this data and they bring all this data in and they say, okay, we need to lower rates because unemployment's higher and inflation's here, or we need to raise rates because inflation's high and unemployment's fine. So that's kind of what they do. There's no feelings in it. It's just facts.
No say in that decision. And while the Fed is technically part of the U.S. government, it is completely independent.
Day 13. I just wanted to say that, too.
And that is by design because monetary policy is not popular. No one likes high interest rates, but sometimes the Fed has to increase them in order to bring inflation down, because when inflation is high, you know this, prices are not stable for anyone.
Correct.
Interest rates are the main tool that the Fed uses to get that inflation under control. But it means higher borrowing costs for everyone, including the government, which is not pleasant. Now, if the Fed was run by the president or subject to the whims of the White House, we would never see high interest rates for the same reason why no politician wants to raise taxes. It's not popular. So now...
Right. So basically that they would just lower interest rates. And we had this for a long time. Like interest rates were really, really low for a long time.
Now that we understand the basics about the Fed, let's get to our little story. There once was a man named Arthur Burns. Burns was an American economist and spent 2 consecutive terms as the Federal Reserve Chairman from 1970 to 1978. He had a very close friend, President Richard Nixon, who had nominated Burns to be the Fed chair because Nixon saw Burns as a Republican loyalist and a personal ally.
Ah, got it. Let's see. So Nixon picked a guy that was going to be 100% do what he wanted, leg humped him, and said, hey, I want this guy to be him. He's a loyalist. He's going to follow my lead. Good to go. Didn't Trump do the same? Okay.
Now, in the end, they were more like frenemies, but we'll get there.
All right.
The trouble was, at the beginning of Nixon's presidency, he was dealing with a tough economy. Americans were out of work, unemployment was high, and the inflation was also high. But Nixon had a...
Inflation was high. Lots of problems. Holy crap. I feel like deja vu.
A re-election campaign to run, and he wanted to stay in power, so he turned to his friend Burns.
All right. So we had an election coming up, like midterms, and he wanted to stay. They wanted people to, stay in power.
And tried to bully him into lowering interest rates, saying that money needed to be cheap again so companies would hire and more people could go back to work, because Nixon thought if more people were back to work, then they would be more likely to vote for him. Burns said, that's kind of a bad idea.
Bad idea. We don't just want to throw money at the problem because that's kind of a bad idea. But that's kind of how you win elections, I guess.
The economy, not really in a great place for rate cuts.
Not a great place.
And he wouldn't do it. But Nixon persisted and started leaking stories to the media about wanting to expand the Federal Reserve Board of Governors so Burns's power would be weakened. And
what? Expand? Put people on it? Deja vu.
Nixon could get what he wanted anyway. Sound familiar?
Ooh,
now, in August of 1971, Nixon tried to do something about the economy himself. He imposed price controls, which included a freeze on wages, prices, and rents.
Price controls, like demanding interest rates don't go above 10%. Got it?
He imposed a temporary 10% tariff on imports. And
oh, God. Plus he did tariffs.
And he suspended the dollar's convertibility into gold. Nixon was warned by Burns and his advisors. They said, you're taking the easy way out on this one, and warned Nixon that he might as well be putting lipstick on a pig because these moves were going to make the U.S. economy worse in the end. But Nixon did it anyway. He had an election to win, after all. Now, shortly after he put in those price controls on the surface, the U.S. economy seemed to be doing much better.
Great. We're fine. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Everything's fine.
That, combined with the leaks to the media,
I feel great,
and the pressure from Nixon, it was all too much for Burns. He caved, and he gave Nixon what he wanted, several interest rate cuts over a couple of years. And that did the trick. Tons of money was circulating in the U.S. economy again. GDP was up, inflation came down, and fewer people were unemployed. It got Nixon reelected in a landslide, but it was all a mirage, like a boiling pot with a lid ready to blow.
Wait, what?
Because once those price controls disappeared in 1973, just as Burns and Nixon's advisors had warned, the lid blew. Gas and food shortages started appearing. Inflation skyrocketed overnight to more than 9%, and by 1974, it was almost 12%. By then, Burns and Nixon were at each other's throats. Nixon blamed Burns for the horrible economy, and Burns was like, dude, this is on you.
Okay. So, again, here's where we're back at this. You take economists that all they do, they're little nerds with the pocket protectors and the pens and the calculators and stuff like that, and all they do is focus on these numbers shit. Like, just these numbers, just the facts, just the middle American facts. And they basically say, here, let's do some mathin'. Let's do some factin' mathin', right? And they say, right, we're not gonna put any feelings into this, and we're just gonna go with factin', right? All right, you take that, and they're fine. Well, when feelings start to get in there, and politicians start to get in there, and they're trying to sway different things, and things happen like that, things go awry.
Burns had no choice. He and the Fed were forced to slam the brakes on this out-of-control Nixon economy, and the Fed jacked up interest rates, which then triggered a deep recession, which then led to stagflation, which then led to a new president and a new Fed chair coming into office and jacking up interest rates even more, well over 15% in the early 1980s to try and crush this Nixon inflation. Friends, the story of Nixon and Burns is a cautionary tale, one that shows us when the president and politicians interfere with the independence of the Federal Reserve for political gain, it leads to long-lasting economic damage.
What?
President Trump's Department of...
What? How dare thou? Okay. So this is why one of the things we don't want to do if we want to maintain, because remember, we're talking about logistics here, we're talking about business, we're talking about things like that. So when you look at the big picture thing, the big picture in regards to looking at this, you want to make sure you say, okay, how does this affect me? How does this affect my business? If this goes this way, what will happen? If this goes this way, what will happen? Because that's kind of being, preemptive in regards to your business, right? So here's why I'm going to bring this up, and here's why thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. If you do me a favor, hit the like, share this out, that'd be fantastic. And I'm going to be turning the phones on here in a little bit, but not yet. I'm trying to get through everything I want to get through before I turn the phones on. That way, I don't miss some of my stuff that I want to do. All right, I want to go over this one more time because we had some confusion in regards to things. So on one of the shows, I basically said that if you go into a situation and the sole thing that you use is your instincts or your feelings or however you want to phrase the term, that you go in there not caring about facts, just caring about your feelings and your instinct, and you go into situations like that, that is literally the low-level IQ approach towards solving the problem and figuring out that situation, right? And here I'm gonna kind of put this together where people understand this, because people get all confused. So in regards to doing that, we see this in regards to like the deer. I have deer in my backyard. I am literally been vegan for 20 years. I do not hunt. We do not hunt on my property. Nobody's allowed to hunt on the property because I don't want people wandering around with guns on my property. Let's just say, because you never know. Also, we feed the deer pretty much every day, and we have probably for the past, I don't even know. My wife could tell me better. Let's say 15 years. We fed the deer every day or every other day, and the turkeys and stuff. So basically, there's deer and turkey all over the property. Now, when we go out to feed, right? When we go out to feed, when we put the food down, even though we're vegan, even though we're the deer still have an instinct to stay away, right? So we'll be out there, they'll be circling the house. I'll feel like we're being invaded, right? Two arms. I swear to God, they're literally walking around the house looking in the windows. But once we go out there, they kind of all go down into that, because I've got 11 acres. So they'll go down into the field, probably an acre or two away from us, right? Some will get close, but they won't. They're not going to get that close that they're going to take feed right out of the buckets, because that's what she feeds, is buckets. So that is for them. That is the instinctual nature of the animal to basically not do that. Now, the problem with that is sometimes that pans out, sometimes that doesn't pan out. Right? That's an instinct type thing that they're doing. The higher calculations and processes are usually that's what we do as humans. We have algebra, physics, chemistry, all these other things that we do higher calculations. So, and the reason I bring this up in regards to that, it's the lower IQ approach. I might hurt somebody's feelings, which it obviously did. It is still, if you're going and you're basing and running your business based on your feelings rather than actual data collected, you are in trouble. You are in trouble. Are you gonna fail? Maybe, but you got a better chance of failing, because you're not actually collecting and getting the data. You're just going on a feeling. Yeah, and I feel like I'm going to run up to Colorado. That's a great paying load, and I'm going to go up to Colorado for $4 a mile. And then next thing you know, you're stuck in Colorado for 2 weeks because there's no loads coming out. Bad idea. Bad idea, right? I'm not a vegan where I don't care what other people eat. I'm not that vegan. Trust me. Everybody here knows it. I don't really care what you guys eat. Don't care. Anyways. So in regards to running a business, one of the things that I see a lot of trucking companies do, logistics companies do, maybe not so much brokers, newer brokers or brokerages, because it's very difficult to not do this, is collecting your data, not entering your business from that lower IQ aspect of things, right? Just going in it. And we see this all the time, right? Somebody jumps out, I'm going to get a truck. Well, what do you know about the market? What do you know about your numbers? What do you know about the data? What do you know about this? Well, that's a lower IQ approach to your business. You don't know your numbers. You don't know what the markets are. You don't understand load boards. You don't any of that, but you went out and just bought a $30,000 truck and just paid $5,000 for insurance and startup costs and everything else to get the truck running. But you went in with no data. You entered in with no data collection and things like that. And this is that literally, like it or not, admit it or not, that is the lower IQ approach to business. I know that's going to hurt some people's feelings, but I'm trying to be blunt with this and kind of explain this. Now, when I explain this to say that's if you go in with that and you never change that, it's going to be very difficult for you to expand. Now, if you go into a business with a higher IQ approach, meaning able to say, I need data collection, I need to process facts, I can't just do this on my feelings. Okay, where do I get this information? Where do I get this information? How do I calculate my numbers? How, what is the average lane rate? Going from here to there, what's the rate going into Colorado compared to coming out of Colorado? What's the rate going into Florida compared to coming out of Florida? What seasons? That is a higher IQ approach to your business. Okay, and I'm using this as an example because explaining this to some people, I just was like, wow. All right. What you honestly need to do is basically start to look at this from that aspect in regards to business. So, like when I go to, and I hear this all the time when I talk to people, and I do consulting in regards to starting your companies and things like that. I will go to them and say, okay, what are you doing to collect information? Like, what are you legitimately doing to know if I come to you? Like, okay, you started your company. When did you start your company? Let's say a year ago. Let's use simple numbers. But if I come to you and say, okay, where were you on the third week of November, and what rate were you having? What rate did you get? Like, how much were you getting, and where were you going? Show me those numbers, right? A lot of these people will basically say, I don't know. You don't. Well, why don't you know? Like, show me the data collection that you've been keeping to keep track of every load that you've done.
Get that pen that David sent tomorrow. Send it to me.
Okay. Sorry, producer's he's working right now, so he's talking. He's got a hot mic. So basically, where have you been? Where were you going? And understand this, okay? And a lot of people will basically say, they don't know. Then they don't keep this data. But the problem is that freight brokers are keeping this data. We are keeping this data, right? We know, I can tell you, 6 months ago, I could probably tell you 6 years ago. I switched over to a TMS from let's say 3 years, because it'd be easier for me to pull 3 years. I'm not gonna, but so I have a TMS that I basically store all this information in, keep track of it now, and basically can tell you, what freight did I have 2.5 years ago? How much did it on the second week of December? Where did it go? How much it paid? How much I billed? When did it pick up? When did it deliver? And all this information, right? And this is basically the higher IQ approach, collecting this data and understanding these numbers, so you literally can go back and look at your own data. Separates you from the people that just come in and just use their feelings, okay? And just approach things by a fact of no data collection. And when I explain that, I'm literally telling people, and I know it hurts people's feelings, too bad, is that that is to come in just with feelings and not do data collection, not keep track of this stuff, like it or not, is that lower IQ approach. Okay, that's that lower IQ approach where you're just going in, you're running on your feelings, and you're just winging it, right? Things like that. That is the aspect that, like it or not, you can't function on. When I try to explain this to people, they have a hard time processing the information that if I say that is a low IQ approach, that doesn't mean that you are an animal. It just means that that is how animals process information more than humans, right? So you have to understand that concept of going into a business like that is bad. And that's what we don't want you to do. So I'm going to try to reach out to some people for truck drivers, like a trucker's office or something like that, where I can find maybe a software that will help truck drivers keep this information. Because basically, that is basically one of the key factors that is going to separate you from the crowd by doing this freight, by knowing all this information and keeping track of it. And it doesn't matter what you're in. If you're over the road, final mile, it doesn't matter. Like, you should keep this data so that you can go back to it and reference things like that. Okay. What about the illegal immigrant truckers killing American citizens because they should have never given a license to operate a semi-truck? Yeah, that's bad. Nobody's going to argue that that's good. I mean, that's if that's what's happening, that would be bad. Now, it's a small percentage. It's like 0.02%. But we also have a lot of American truck drivers that are doing the same thing. It doesn't matter who's unaliving people. Right? Wouldn't you say, little lady, that it doesn't matter who's unaliving people? That if we have reasons that truck drivers are out there unaliving people, that would be a bad thing, right? I mean, you can take all of that off and just shorten that sentence by, hey, people who should not have licenses should not operate a semi-truck. I can leave all the rest off. And we have a lot of that, right? We have a lot of people that are out there that are legal citizens that shouldn't have licenses, that are operating trucks, and that's bad also, right? I just want to make sure that would be bad also. If you can respond to that, that'd be great. Now, so I kind of went into the IQ thing and in regards to that and why it's important in business and and the reason is you're going to have to, and I'll turn the phones on here in a minute. Actually, I'll turn the phones on here in 9 minutes, if you want to be exact. In regards to why it's important to start doing this, because you're basically separating yourself from the crowd. Hey, little lady, I just said something to you. Can you respond to me? If you would, please. That'd be great. Okay, now, let's go into... was it North Carolina and Tennessee? Did I miss the Tennessee one? What did I do with the Tennessee one? Oh, hang on. Let me pull the Tennessee one up. I must have closed that, and I didn't mean to close that. Supreme Court ruling on Terra. There's Tennessee one right here. Okay, found it. Let me shuffle this over here. All right. In regards to CDL, so I do want to talk about CDLs because obviously little lady is very concerned over the accident thing in regards to what's going on. American truck drivers follow laws. No, they don't. No, they don't. Listen, okay, let's be honest here. Let's be honest. Do all truck drivers follow the law? No, they don't. Do some of them? Of course they do. They do the best of their ability, but you're not going to tell a lady, we don't follow all the laws. Nobody follows all the laws. So let's understand that aspect. So just because you're an American truck driver, I can give you examples of many times of American truck drivers not following the laws, and we have a problem. So here's the issue I have with this, and that's fine, and I like having these conversations, and you're welcome to call up when I turn the phone on. They don't go driving down the wrong. Yes, they do. 100% they do. They have. There has been, when I started driving tractor trailer, there have been American truck drivers that, Jesus Christ, what was it, 2005, 2006, that we could not, the U-turn problem on the interstate wasn't solely based on non-American truck drivers. Like, we have to basically look at truck driving, and I think my problem is that we can't just look at who's driving the truck, we have to look at the system of truck driving, right? We definitely have a problem in regards to training of truck drivers. It's not just based on immigrants and things like that. It is literally based on the system. Like truck drivers, in regards to the training, the amount of training. And if you were in trucking, if I went to a truck driver, any honest truck driver, if I ask them this, and if they're in the chat, we all can agree that it is not just foreigners that are doing this. The truck driving training, the mega carriers throwing people in that shouldn't be thrown in every aspect, is not up to par. The training in itself is not up to par. So what I don't want to do is make it actually hurts the industry if you were to just say it's based on foreign or illegals that are causing these accidents. It's not. That actually hurts the industry, because then what you're not actually going after and talking about is the legitimate lack of training, lack of experience needed for all truck drivers, foreign and domestic. And you're not doing the industry well by just yelling illegals. We need to say, okay, we have a training issue, okay? And I'm going to give you the best example to little lady. I got my CDL when I was 21 years old. I'm 50 now. I drove for Schneider. One of the first dedicated runs I was on was Buffalo, New York, up into Quebec. Different things in Quebec, but it was up into Quebec. There was no, certain area I went to. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but Quebec is in French. All the signs are in French. The people speak French. They don't like, most of the stuff up there is all French, right? I did that for like 8 or 9 months. And I go up there, I'd pick something, come back. I'd go up there, pick something, come back. That's basically what I did every time I went up to Quebec. That's all I did for 8 or 9 months. I never got into an accident, but I didn't speak French. I don't speak French. Well, excuse my French. I speak a little French. No, that's not really French, but I don't speak French. So my question would be, how did I do that? How did I drive in a foreign country where everything was in French and didn't get into an accident? Okay? I didn't get into an accident. So the reason was I believe I was better trained. I was better trained to trip plan. I was better trained to establish what I was going to be doing, where I was going to be going. If I didn't know or something was happening, I knew to slow down. Slow down. Just slow down. What's going on? I can't read that sign. There's flashing lights. Slow down. And I believe I was better trained than some of the people that are trained today. And if I go to old school truck drivers and ask them, what do you believe the main cause of accidents are? And I think a lot of them are going to say poor training and poor and cars, four-wheelers. Like there's more danger. Four-wheelers cause a lot of truck accidents also, right? Something happened where a four-wheeler does something, meaning a car or a pickup truck. Because guess what? All those people can speak English and Spanish, right? Normal people driving cars can cause an 18-wheeler to get into a wreck, and it had nothing to. That could have been an American, fully English-speaking American that was caused by a car that did something that he had to react. Okay, so this is the aspect that I want people to completely understand is that we have, and I don't want to lose the aspect of, the foreign speaking or illegals and stuff and just say, well, that's the problem. No, we need to point the direction and say, we have bad training. We have people that I know that are Americans, 100% Americans that have, because trust me, these people are on X, they're on Twitter, they're on things like that, have gotten into multiple accidents within 6 months. Like multiple accidents within 6 months, right? So it is, we need to take a look at that also, right? I'm just telling you, I have hired drivers. As a carrier, I have to run an MVR. I have run MVRs that I have pulled people that have had multiple, you usually go back like 3 years. Within 3 years, have had like 6 accidents, 4 tickets. How do we explain that aspect of things, right? Well, we have people that don't give a shit about their license, or that person should not be hired. It should not be hired. Technically, they should be uninsurable. But so that when we look at this, we do trucking a disjustice to basically say it's just illegals. And we need to look at the big picture of things and put that out there. But I do appreciate your comments, and I understand you're probably not in trucking. And I agree training is necessary for all jobs, not only trucking. Americans are being forced out of the jobs because they are undercut by Americans' bottom line. No, and that's not true, to be completely honest. They're not being, I don't believe they're being forced because they're being completely undercut. I believe trucking, if you want to actually look at trucking, and the job is actually a little easier. You know, you don't have to shift, the minute you don't have to shift gears, the minute you don't have to read a map, because now we have a GPS, now we have automatic transmissions, and we have all this stuff. As it becomes easier, I think that becomes complacency, and then we have a lot more problems with complacency. Truck drivers are not getting out of the industry solely based on money. A lot of them are getting out of the industry. When we question truck drivers and why they're getting out of the industry, and I'll do a show on this, a lot of it is home time, right? They're not home enough. Family life. They want more family life. They want to be with their family more. So, and then truck driving, you know, over the road is, you know, obviously you're home, you know, usually 1 day per week you're out, approximately. That's one of the biggest factors in regards to truck drivers. And there's just not enough regional positions to do stuff like that. And like I said, and so can we fix that? We can. Like I said, I think with self-driving trucks, putting them in an aspect of, I'll turn the phones on here in 2 minutes. 2 minutes and the phones are getting turned on, right, Sonia?
His number.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hang on, Sonia. We're not ready yet. That's a big aspect. You're going to have self-driving trucks, which might take about 20% of the market on the lower states where they can be able to go cross-country, which would allow to free up some positions for more regional jobs, things like that. Okay. But there are the CDL. Okay, yeah, here's Tennessee. So Tennessee 8,800 CDL holders provide proof of citizen or face driver's license downgrade. So Tennessee's basically coming out. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll give you the gist. Tennessee's basically coming out and saying, hey, here's one of the problems that we have in the industry, okay? One of the problems we have in the industry is, and we have this with multiple things. So when you go to get your license, they're going to ask for, you know, proof of citizenship, all this other stuff. You get, you know, birth certificate, whatever. These are all things that you prove citizenship. Social security card, you know, utility bill, whatever your state requires. I don't know. States are different. But when you go down there, if you have all this, then you're issued a license. A license is automatically issued for whatever. I don't know what you guys are. I think I'm 4 years up here. No, I'm 5. I think we're 5 years. So some of you guys might be 3 years. Some might be 4 years. I don't even know. It's all depending on the state. And your license is good for, let's say, 5 years. Let's use an average. Your license is good for 5 years. Well, the problem is that their citizenship might not be good for 5 years. They might only have 3 years left on their citizenship. So their citizenship is ending in 3 years, but their license is good for 5 years, okay? Now, the problem with that is the DMV isn't immigration. So when they issue the license, it kind of comes out as an automatic 5-year license. There would have to be some type of rule change or law passed stating that, hey, we don't issue license. We only issue license for as long as it's valid for. Like, let me give you an example. And we do this with your medical card. You might only get a 2-year medical card. So every CDL holder over 150 miles outside radius, has to get a medical card. Right? I'm not going to break it down, make it boring. Well, your medical card's only good for 2 years, but your CDL is good for 4 years. Now, it's your job to basically go back and say, hey, doc, I need a new medical card, or it's going to expire, and then my CDL won't be good. Okay? So it's my job to go get that. Okay? And then I go get that, and then my license is good again, because I have to maintain a medical card for every 2 years. Sometimes it's 1, but let's go with 2. My medical card's for 2 years. So even though my medical card's going to end in a year, my license is still good. Right? They still issue me a 5-year license because even though I've only got 1 year left on my medical card. Now, it's my job to update the medical card, and so on and so on. So it's very difficult to maintain this because we already have these things in play that basically say, hey, we issue licenses for this year because our state by law has 5-year licenses. Now, so what they're basically going back and doing is saying, how can we solve this problem? And I do believe it's a problem. I do believe that we should be able to match the license with the immigration status. I'm not saying we shouldn't in any way, shape, or form. But the problem is that we have to find a better way of doing this. So I do agree this is something that has to change, just like your hazmat certification, right? Or your medical card. This is all things that basically prevent you from having a CDL that you have to get updated and you have to get fixed. So I am in favor when people come to me and I appreciate this conversation. 902, I got to turn the phones on. And then I have to do, I want to do this video here. So let me go to this video here. Before I turn the phones, let me turn this video on. All right, remember where we parked. We parked at 9 minutes. I actually been watching this guy's channel. It's a pretty good channel. This is PINOY Trucking. But let me start the video here, and then we'll go to 9 minutes.
Times have you heard?
Hang on.
How many times have you heard this from a broker? Unfortunately, a broker has told me this many, many times before. Hey, listen, if you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do so. And also, when you the other day. So we're going to upload this today.
Also, make sure if you can do me a favor, hit the like button, share this out, subscribe to the channel. That would be great.
A day after, we're going to upload again. Look at that. We got airplanes up in the air. Where's he at? He's already passed. I love this area. Anyway, so if a broker has told you something similar, right?
Sage.
Or has told you something.
What?
Never mind.
Okay. Am I still on TikTok? I am still on TikTok. Thank you for going over there on TikTok. If you guys would do me a favor. What is this here? If you guys would do me a favor, follow me on TikTok. I am working to be able to get people up. I guess I have to do 3 shows. And they have to be 30 minutes each. So we're in the process of getting that party started. And then once I do that, we'll be good to go for, I guess, multi-guests. But right now, I don't think I'm there yet. But I'm working on it.
Something other than this, but it seemed like it's some type of a trick. Let me know down below. Comment it down below. Anyway, let's get going. We got to load on this. Because I try to upload.
All right.
How many times have you heard this from?
All right. So this is, I have 650 in the load, and I'm offering 650. So he's basically saying, how many times you as a trucking company, and I'll turn my thing on, have you been told that they only have this much in the load, they only have 675 in the load or 800 in the load or whatever, and they're offering 650 or 750? How many times have you heard this? And I kind of want to explain this if you're in the trucking, because a lot of people are saying they're lying. That's lying, and they can't lie in business. Well, it's not lying, and I'm going to kind of explain why. And let me turn the phones on. Listen, it's a logistics show, so if you jump up here on stuff that technically you can't convey as logistical, I got to let you go, just so you know. Just giving you a heads up. And logistical, there are some avenues to go down for that logistical aspect of things. But, okay, that's the question I'm asking right now before I play the video, is how many times has a freight broker told you, if you were in trucking, that they have $800 or $1,000 in the load, that's all they have in it, even though you want $1,200, and they basically come and they say all they have in it is that much. Okay? That's all they have in it. All right, do you remember where we parked? I think we parked at 9. We'll start there. Is this where we parked?
This broker. By the way, I've heard this.
Oh, yeah. We parked here. Good. Not bad. I remember where we parked. All right. Now that you guys are all thinking about that, probably not really thinking about it hard, I'm going to show a couple things here in regards to freight. Okay. So last week or so, a bunch of people were coming out and said the freight recession's over. Freight's booming right now. It's hot, and I put this in the video. And we're experiencing tons and tons of volume. It's doing great. 2026 is going to be fantastic and marvelous, and that we're fine. Now, this is where collecting your data is a good thing, where you kind of want to make sure you're collecting your data coming from that high IQ, middle American approach compared to the lower IQ, okay? So if you would just have your feelings in this, you would say, okay, loads are hot. Freight's paying a lot of money right now. Last 2 weeks at end of December and January, freight's booming right now. Yes, we're out of the recession. And I don't think we're going to be out of the recession until we find out what's going to go on with tariffs. I think tariffs, if they're struck down and Trump doesn't get his tariff way, and they're basically don't have the Emergency Powers Act to raise tariffs on all the products, I do believe we're going to have a push for better freight. We're going to have a push for better volumes. I believe a lot of industries are waiting to fill their warehouses and stuff full of goods until they find out if the tariffs are going to be gone, because there's no need to bring it in now if they can wait a couple weeks. They're just going to hold off and go from there. Because there's also, people are also keeping in things what we call bonded markets. Bonded, what is going on? Yeah, whatever. We have this in a bonded market. And a bonded market basically means that there's no tariffs on it yet because it hasn't hit U.S. soil in their eyes, right? So until it hits U.S. soil, meaning you pull it out of the bonded market, you don't have to pay the tariff on it, just so you know. It kind of sits there, just so you know. All right. So I basically said, well, wait a minute. Before we jump the gun and kind of come out there, my historical data, my data collection, my facts, basically say that this might not be a boom to the market yet. This might be a push to get things out the door. Oh, hang on, Sonia. Fine.
His number, 856-600-4654, Sage Outcast.
Okay, perfect. That is the phone number. The phones are open. So this is where I basically said, hang on, before we jump down this, normally what happens at the end of the year, there is a push to get things off of manufacturers or shippers off the books, off their property, out of their warehouses, because they don't want to claim it on their taxes. They want the stuff out of there. They want to be basically paid for the product that they made that they've been, storing right now. And they don't want to pay storage. They're no longer ready to collect storage. They're basically looking to get it out of there. Plus, you had a bunch of carriers that basically said, hey, I'm just going to shut down until the second week of January because freight's been not that good. I'm not going to run over the holidays. I'm just going to shut down. Overdimensional freight never really moves during the holidays because we can't move on holidays. They shut us down on holidays, so we can't move anyway, so that doesn't really move. So I know historically I'm dead pretty much Christmas till, January, until after January. It's probably usually the second week of January, because by that time everything's all cleared up and we can start moving freight again. So I basically said that before it was a really hot market. Like these were over in the red. Van market was booming. The reefer market was booming. All these were up in the red. They were way down here in the green, but they were shooting up into this area. Now, what does this mean? Well, this basically means that the spot market, it's harder to find a truck, right? Easier to find a truck is over in the green. Harder to find a truck is over here with the red and the gold. Gold will work. So when it's harder to find a truck, I got to pay more money. I have to pay more money to people to basically to pay that, to find that truck, which means freight is going up. Freight's going up, right? Well, that means the price that the truck driver's getting is more money. He's making more money when it's harder to find a truck. Because if there's 100 loads and 50 trucks, we got a problem, right? Because I don't have enough trucks for the amount of loads, right? I'm going to show you chart 2. Well, we're starting to see that because the holidays are ending, now there's going to be a slow reaction to the markets in regards to, so if you're a truck driver and you're like, well, that's not true, I'm still getting good rates. Well, you're seeing a slower reaction to that, basically, right? So although as it starts to get looser and looser, it's not instantaneously that the prices come down. Prices go up because we're dealing with the holidays, and then as it gets easier to find a truck, prices start to come down and come down and come down because it's easier to find a truck. It's not like bam, bam, instant, right? It's not instant. But we're starting to see the markets where it is easier to find a truck. Okay. So as you can see, and this one right here basically shows that prices went up like 10 cents a mile for reefer, 7 cents a mile for flatbed, and van. So the prices went up, but now if this trend continues to go, these prices right here will start to come down. Now, if you're in trucking, this makes sense. If not, you're probably falling asleep, which is fine. I will be that guy. Either way. Now, here's the other aspect that I also tried to explain in regards to Q4 when people saw a bunch of prices. Right here, people saw a big jump in freight right here. A big jump in freight. These are freight. The amount of loads that were posted onto Truck Stop which means that volumes were kicking up, more loads were being posted, more freight was out there, and they wanted to move that stuff. So right here, these 3 lines was the weeks I was telling you. These were the weeks of December, right here, and January 1st, basically, these weeks. There was a big push to get freight out for the end of the year because they wanted it off the books. They wanted it out of their warehouses. They wanted them to take payment so that they could be paid. Like a lot of times that until the freight leaves the shipper or the manufacturer, the minute it gets put onto my truck, the receiver has to pay money for it. Like the shipper doesn't let it leave until it's paid. Okay? They just cut a check. Sometimes they have, that's just the way it rolls. That's when they're billed. That's when the invoice gets sent. Okay? So you had a lot of people saying, we want this stuff out of our warehouses because we want to be paid for this stuff. And then you see this right here. And then what happens is end of the year, everything drops down. Right? And then so right now, there's a lot of the freight volume that was trying to get out, and drivers are seeing the reactionary aspect of the higher freight volumes. And this is where I believe that freight prices are going to come back down again. Not tremendously down to like $1 a mile, but they're going to come back down again. That this was just a spike in freight based on end of the year. That's pretty much what I got. That's pretty much what I got. And then it gauges average pricing and stuff like that. Now that we got that done and my phone systems are on, I wanted to kind of talk about this, and this is probably going to piss some people off. Let me play his video, and we're going to do reaction to video, because he brings up a great point, and he, like I said, I think this guy's really good. He's a step deck driver. Like I said, I think his videos are good, and so I'm not arguing the point. I'm explaining the point he's about to make. And the point that he's about to make is a broker will tell him, hey, all I have in the load is $1,000, and I'm giving you $950. I don't have any more money in it. I don't have any more money. Now, remember, we'll explain this. Let me play the actual video. Reaction time.
It's just not there. We're nowhere near there. So let's talk about what happened with this broker. By the way, I've heard this story before. So when he told me, right? So when at first I saw the load yesterday, okay? I didn't think it was actually a live load or a real load. Sometimes they're just fishing for information, right?
True. That happens too. A lot of times some freight brokers will post loads on Truck Stop. This is Truck Stop right here. This also tells me the markets and stuff that it's also a market thing. I think I'll go over this maybe on Wednesdays. Either way, let's listen.
So I emailed them, and then they were like, yeah, this and that, and he's paying 500 or something. I can't remember, but
so it's paying $550.
Anyway,
when I post a load on the load board as a freight broker, I can post where it's picking up, where it's going, what it's required, what type of equipment, and does it need straps, does it need tarps, does it need a team, things like that. I can post all that. And then the other thing I can post is how much it's paying, how much that load is paying. Now, I don't like posting how much the load is paying because that's not how I run my freight brokerage. But if I don't post it, then I'm never going to get anybody to respond. I'm just never going to get anybody to answer my posting. Because when you don't post how much something pays, very few people even look at it. Again, why? Well, this is also, just so you guys know, this is also the lower IQ approach to this. A lot of times, truck drivers look at something that a load is not posted a rate on, and they just won't call because it's easier just to, look at what the broker's posting. Oh, he's posting $1,000. I'll ask him for 12. Okay. Rather than say, okay, this load, according to my historical data, according to my facts, according to my information, this lane should approximately pay this rate, right? This is what I've run it before. I've run it consistently. This is, I can back this information up with data. Let me call this guy and tell him what my price is and see if we can get this load. See if I can get this load. But if I don't post the rate on there, drivers just won't call. So I don't know.
And then I read that and I was like, I was thinking of doing it and maybe supplement some short runs with it, like some short Amazon runs with it, and that would like bump up your rate per mile, right? Or day rate, you know what I mean? So I was like, I wanted to bring myself into booking it or, looking into accepting it at 600 like they wanted to originally. So I was like, nah, I can't do it, you know. So I asked for 800.
Okay. So they posted for 6. He asked for 800.
Because technically what they're doing is like they're essentially trying to make sure this thing gets loaded and unloaded first thing in the morning, so these guys can get set up and, you know, and get to work, right? So they want to use your trailer as a storage, you know. So because if it was done tomorrow, it'll probably be like the end of the day before they completely get it all set up. This time they'll be able to probably get it set up by noon or whatever it is that they're setting up, and then they'll.
Okay, so he's trying to explain. He's trying to say that, look, what they're looking to do is have you load first thing in the morning, and then and make sure that you're at delivery first thing the next day, because what they don't want to do is have somebody come in and be there at around noon or whatever. So they want you to be on site, but by the time so that they can get the crane on site and get all the equipment on site.
Be ready to rock and roll, you know what I mean? Use the platform or whatever, right? So anyway, I was trying to convince myself into doing it for 600.
So that would be what we call a day rate, right? How much is a day rate? How much for you to, you know, load today, deliver tomorrow? That day rate aspect of the load.
I was looking at scenarios where, see, that's the thing, is like you got to look at those scenarios, right? Like what you have available with you at your disposal, right? So, and I know I have Amazon at my disposal over here. So if I can get this at $20 a mile, and then I can go get these other Amazon loads, and then you combine those together, we're doing okay for the day. You know what I mean? So, but I could not bring myself to doing it. So I said, okay, let me ask them for 800. So I emailed them. I was like, all right, let's go 800. Comes back, it's like, I only got 675 on the load, so 650. How about 650? I didn't respond at all, you know.
Okay, so he says, how about 800? And the guy basically emails him back, or calls him, I think he emails him back and says, I've only got 675 in the load, and I'm offering 650. And the question that you guys are going to have if you're into trucking is, well, brokers are liars. Brokers are liars. All right? So, let me play.
Like a couple hours. I didn't respond at all. Nah, I'm not doing it. So eventually he was like, okay, fine, let's do 800.
So eventually he emailed back or messaged back, and he says, okay, fine, let's do 800. But when he first talked to him, when he first had that first conversation, he basically said, hey, I only have 675 in the load. Now, is this a lie? Is he lying to you? And all right. Here's what a lot of drivers don't understand, or either don't know or don't understand. So when you call a freight brokerage, or like a TQL, a CH Robinson, Allen Lund, all these big ones, the person you are talking to on the phone, okay, is not the owner of the brokerage. They're not the owner of the brokerage. They're just an employee. They're just an employee. They're just, it's like when you go shopping and you go to the grocery store and you show up to the cash register, that's not the owner of the supermarket. Okay? The price is the price. It scan it through. If you want it, you take it. You don't, you don't. He can't adjust the price. So what happens with a lot of these people that you're on the phone with, and this is important that you know, is you are having a conversation with somebody that is probably given a limit into what they can move the load for. Okay? Now, this brokerage might have had $1,000 in the load. I'm going to use simple numbers. But when they give it to that low-level cashier, that low-level, customer service person that you're talking to, then they're giving a limit of the most they can pay is $675. They are authorized at their level of employment to pay $675 on this load. They can't go any higher. So if he's giving you $670, $650, and he only has $675, then he's not lying. Now, does the load have more? Yes. Can he give you more? No. No. Because let's say I own the brokerage, I've put a max limit on what he can give. Why? Well, I don't want him just giving, all the money away on every load. I don't want him just, hooking up his buddies with more money than he should be giving. So these people are limited to the amount of money that they can give. Now, if that person, and I've done this, I've run brokerages. If that person now has a manager above them or a salesperson, somebody above them, that basically they say, hey, I'm only authorized to give $675. I have a carrier that's interested in doing this load. He's 50 miles away. He's empty. He says he can be there in an hour. If we from the time we give him the load, but he wants 8. What do you want me to do? Now that salesperson or that manager probably has the authorization to be able to go to $800 or $900, right? They have the authorization to up the money. But remember, the first person that you were talking to was not authorized to give you more money. Their limit was $675. But, well, he's going to say, well, I've got a carrier at 8. What do you want me to do? Now, that salesperson might look at that and say, no, we've got 2 weeks to move this. We're not moving it for 8. Not yet. We have 2 weeks to move this load. Somebody else might call in and do it for $650. Or fine. Or it might be, hey, which this probably was because it was end of the year. It might be, hey, shoot. It's already Wednesday. This thing's got to deliver by Friday. That means he's got to load by tomorrow to deliver Friday. Let's go ahead and do the 8. Let's do the 8. Go ahead and get the carrier set up to do the 8. That's fine. We got to make it happen. Because they have the money in it, and it's short on time, and it has to be delivered. But what I'm trying to say is that first person, the first conversation you're having with the first person you're talking to on the phone doesn't have the authorization to do that. So there's other things you can do. I mean, you could ask questions like, hey, when does this have to unload by? Well, it has to be there by Friday. Well, and this guy's a step deck, so he's an open deck. So he might say stuff like, well, is there crane appointments? Yes. Okay. Now you know you have more leverage because they've already set up a crane, which costs money. So that's a question you can ask to know where you're going to be with it. And then you can also go in there and saying, okay, how much time do you have on this load? Is this thing, is this a hot load? Is this something that needs to get out and delivered? Or is this kind of just a recurring thing that they're just looking to move it when they can move it? No, it's got to get there. It's important it gets there by this Friday. It has to be there this Friday. Okay. Well, it has to get there by this Friday. You can say things like, well, I know you might only have $650 to do this, but you probably have, you can probably get authorization from a manager or from somebody else and just tell them that you got a legitimate carrier with the available equipment right now to get this done for you so that you don't fail this customer. And but my price is 8, but I can definitely get it done for that. And I can provide, fantastic service for that. I've got a good driving record. I've got a good, CSA scores. I don't know if he does. I never looked him up. I've got good CSA scores. I've got, I have no problem sending you information. I got no problem taking pictures of the load. I got no problem, communication and all these other stuff. But my price is going to be 8 for that. Let me know if that'll work. Reach out to your manager. Like, tell the person on the phone to reach out to their manager and see if they can get more money authorized for this load. I mean, you don't have to force them to do it, but ask them, hey, can you get more money authorized for the load if you reach out to a supervisor? Yeah, I can try. Yeah, do me a favor. Let me know. Shoot a message over to him, and I'll wait a couple minutes and see if we can get this done. Right? That is the aspect of the difference between going in with feelings and going in with logic. Right? That's the higher IQ approach. That's like I said. Here we are we're trying to make Middle America great again. And show that the importance of that aspect of things, because this is how the business should be approached also, right? Your knowledge and understanding of how the system works makes you better at your job, which then eventually makes it where... Okay. I'm learning the TikTok thing. If you guys are over on TikTok listening, it looks like I actually have people listening. If you guys are over on TikTok listening, if you can do me a favor and hit the hearts or hit whatever makes this thing go, or follow the channel. I need to get 3 shows in before I can start inviting people up on the panel. I don't know. I don't know. I might have 2 more to go. But I'm also on YouTube. So I'm mostly over on YouTube showing videos and stuff like that. Okay.
See, like, I knew that it's a weekend, right? And I knew that there's not going to be a lot of people that's going to be contacting this load, or regarding this load. So the ball's in my court, I mean, that 800 is still not that amazing. It's good, but it's not that amazing. You know what I mean? But it's just, the crazy thing to me is like, you go from, you only have $675 on the load, yet with zero explanation, it's like, okay, we'll accept 800.
Right. And it wasn't zero explanation. Remember, there was a gap between when they said, okay, for 800. There was a gap. He says that he didn't send them an email back. He didn't say anything. And there was a time gap. So most likely what he did was find a supervisor or somebody that was authorized to approve more money in the load, and then basically said, yeah, go ahead, you can move it for 8. Let's get it done.
Ain't that crazy to me? Like, that's crazy, right? That's real crazy. I mean, yes, I get it. It's only a 24-mile run. You know, any other day during the week, you'll probably have some people, you know, gobbling over that. You know what I mean? Be like, yeah, I do it for 500. You know what I mean? Which I think is still okay to do for 500, but I don't think I would ever do it. You know what I mean? I mean, just look at that. Look what we had to deal with. This one is not even that bad, but those bundles, that bundle in the back, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, see, the risk factor as a open deck, right, is so much higher.
Right. He's got it, which is true. So what he's looking at is a day rate. So his day rate is higher than a van's day rate, like a door swinger, because his day rate for his equipment is more expensive. His equipment's more expensive.
You know what I mean? That's why you have to put yourself in that position and be like, man, my accident, whatever, right? Your prone accident is a lot higher than, say, a van. You know what I mean? A van driver, you know? So, but I'm not, it's just that I couldn't bring myself into doing it for 650. Like, that's why I just let it sit there and simmer for a little bit. And then finally he's like, okay, yes, let's go 800, man.
Right. He basically let it sit there. And like I said, I will bet money that he basically because this is, you know, where am I getting this information from? Historical data. The same thing happened when, you know, a long time when I was an agent. Same thing happened with my brokerages. They are authorized to give this much. They have to give approval to give more. So somebody goes back. So when he says all I have in it, not we, all I have in it is 675. That's true. So he has authorization to give you. He doesn't have authorization to give you anymore.
So anyway, I thought it would be like a really good topic for a video. Oh yeah, also, right, the freaking broker's like, hey man, can you help me out at all? Before he came up with that 800, you know, like, yeah, fine, I'll do it for 800. But he was like, hey man, can you help me out at all? You know what I mean? It's like, listen, it's like, I mean, I wish.
And a lot of times, can you help me out at all? A good fact, because remember, he probably has a quota, or he probably has the numbers he has to hit. Right? So he has to be able to get into, like, in regards to sales, in regards to pushing stuff, they make quotas. They make things that you are required to hit, right? So he might have to hit so many loads within his price range for him to reach some type of qualification. I have no idea. So he might be asking you to help him out because he doesn't want to have to go to his manager and get more money, because his job is to be able to move the load without doing that, right?
I wish we were buddies. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I know you're not out here to screw me. If that wasn't the case, I'll probably even do it for free. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you wouldn't do it for free.
But you're just another stranger to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't be doing you favors when I got bills to pay. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if I know you, you know, from Adam, like if that was Parker was asking me, be like, hey man, listen, we got a few pallets that, you know, needs to go in a flatbed, it needs to go here. Hey, you think you're gonna be able to help me out? If I was right there in that area, heck yeah, I'd be like, come on, let's go, Parker. You know, it's nothing to me, right? But anyway, yeah, and he was like, he emailed me, he's like, hey, can you help me out? I didn't respond at all. You know what I mean? I just read the email. I never responded. And I know that he's not getting any bite. Nobody was biting on that load, you know, because of that. You know, I don't know if he contacted the shipper and be like, hey man, listen, we're gonna have to open up some more money on this load. You know, I don't know if he did or not, but I don't really care. You know what I mean? It's like, I set my price at 800. That's what I'm gonna do it at 800. You know?
Yes, taxpayers also paid for a portion of my degree. Yes, I don't know if that's an issue, but yes, taxpayers also paid for a portion of my degree.
You know, as a matter of fact, I had to bring myself into doing it for 800. I mean, it's still a really, really good load for 800. But like I said,
I think we call it financial aid, right?
I was either gonna deadhead home or go pick up this one. And now tomorrow, once we get this offloaded, there's a good chance, there's a good possibility that we're gonna get a load going south, you know, and we get that load, we go pick up the little one, you know, and then we're gonna continue on. We're gonna continue trucking, you know what I mean?
No, I think I like this guy. He's a good approach to it. He has a very good approach to it. He understood it. Like I said, I did want to reach out and do this video, and I'll probably I'll cut this up and tag him in it. But he did do, like I said, in regards to that, explaining why sometimes this happens, and then that way that brings him more information in regards to what he can use as ammunition to try to get more money. Right, to try to better his company, and things like that. And he's welcome to reach out to me. I specialize in overdimensional freight, and step decks and things like that. So you can reach out to me also. But I did want to do this too. So that being said, let me see if I've got. All right, phone lines are open.
His number.
I think that's everything I wanted to cover. Let me see. This was the. God, I hate that thing. Hang on a second. This is the. See how things are. Oh, look, things are hot in the middle of the United States. Because that's not Middle America. I'm Middle America. That's not Middle America. And we are making Middle America great again, using high IQ and logic to process this information and get us through it. I know. I sometimes I just I know. I know what you guys are thinking. Well, not all of you, but some of you. Let me see what else is doing up here. What's hot? Why is well, Montreal's hot. No, Vermont's wow, Vermont's hot. If you guys are in Vermont, I don't know what they're moving. What are they moving up there out of Vermont? All right, Vermont's doing not bad. Maine's not. Don't come to Maine. Nobody ever comes up here to Maine. My glasses. Is it better if I might? No, it's worse. I need my reading glasses here, even though I'm reading from a mile away. Let's see. We got actually a lot of them. Looks like Cincinnati's hot. Louisiana's hot. There's a lot of freight. What is this for? This is for van. Oh, we're not going to do. Let's do specialized. Nobody ever does specialized freight. Let's do flatbed, actually. Yeah, Cincinnati, Indiana. Here's what I used to run. Just so you guys know where I used to run. I lived in Tennessee. I lived right here in the middle of Tennessee. There's Nashville. Actually, I lived right here. Right in this red area right here. That's where I lived. So I ran... Well, I did both van. Let's do van, because I did van and flatbed. I ran... Just so you guys know, on my historical data. This is my historical data. I ran Mississippi, and I'd pick up furniture in Mississippi, and I'd run Mississippi to Indiana, basically. I can't remember where it was in Indiana. I want to say it's up here near Lafayette, Indiana. And then I'd grab stuff out of Indiana and run it back down to Tennessee, Alabama, all down here. And then I'd go right through the house. That's what I basically did. And I did short mile, high-paying short miles. So I do about 500 miles or less. All right, let me see if there's any phone calls.
His number, 856-600-4654. Sage Outcast. I have questions.
I do. I have questions. Well, I always have questions. But I want to say shout out to Pinoy Trucking. Probably pronouncing it wrong. I've been following some of his stuff. He's pretty good. Let me hit a like on this one. And I did subscribe. I am subscribed. All right, that being said, if anybody wants to call in, let me know. I don't care. We're pretty much. I think I'm done with the show. So if you want to call in, and it's not too crazy, you can call in. You don't have to talk logistics per se, if you don't want to for the last 20 minutes of the show. You're welcome to call in. Call in. Let me know if you want. If you have something you want to argue with me, or compliment me on. I don't hear a lot of compliments. But I'm going to be selling hats. I think we're going to make some merch. And we'll probably do Make Middle America Great Again merch. I think that's good merch. But we might as well profit off of it. You know what I'm saying? Let me see here. I am on TikTok. I'm sorry, TikTok. I know. Once I get 2 more shows in, I can start bringing you guys up in regards to that. But I can't do it yet, so I understand. I apologize over on TikTok. So I'm going to end TikTok just because I only need 30 minutes. I just need 30 minutes here. Freight is on fire. Let me end TikTok real quick. I'll talk to you guys later, TikTok. Bye. I thank you. I like Bigfoot. I'm definitely on a Bigfoot. Freight's on fire. Where you at there, Where are you at where it's on fire? What type of freight you running? Let's take a look. I can show it. All right. Let me first close this here. Let me close some of these tabs. Let me close this tab. Let me close this tab. I'm going to leave that tab open. And let me see here. I don't know. I mean, definitely running Midwest, middle area is definitely. I don't know if it's on fire. I'm telling you, it's on fire now. But in my opinion, it's gonna cool off again. I think You're experiencing a little bit of pushback from the end of the year, and since prices are kind of dynamic, but not instantly. You know, it's not real time. You're gonna see a little bit of caving back off again. To do that. Where you at, Narc? Narc, you gonna call in? Where you at, Narc? Narc, where you at, Narc? Why aren't you calling in, Narc? Ow, my stomach hurts. All right, let me close this real quick here. Hang on. I know. As soon as I learn a better groove in regards to the how I'm gonna do this, give me time. Give me time with that. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share this out if you would, subscribe to the channel. But give me a little bit of time to figure this out because I got to figure out the TikTok thing. I use OBS to basically stream over to Twitch, X, and YouTube. So that's done with the OBS. That goes to 3 platforms, right? And I've got I don't know, probably 80 people in here between the 3 platforms. And then I've got TikTok is a completely separate platform. It's a completely separate camera. Like this camera here is my Sony camera. I also have another camera here, which is my Logitech Brio. So TikTok is a completely separate camera and completely separate system. So I'm figuring it out. Just to be completely honest. That being said, you're busy? You're busy. Yeah, well, that's not... listen, you got to call in. Listen, if you're not going to call in, where you at? Where you at? I'm calling you out. Where you at? Call in. Where you at? Call in. All right. That being said, then, if I'm not going to wait. I'm going to wait until Narc calls in and then ends the show. Basically. But no, if that's pretty much it, I appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, I realize that's not my typical topics. But... this is kind of the route I'm looking to go down. So I'm looking to get some trucking, get some logistics people in here. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me, if you're sticking with me. Even though my producer cuts out of here. Oh, this is Bert. I'll take Bert. I don't have to mute Bert. Hang on. Actually, I'm going to turn this off.
Colorado.
Hang on, Bert. What's going on, brother?
How you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I was getting ready to tell you about our experience when we went to the holiday weekend. I remember I was going to tell you about that.
Sure.
When we drove from Colorado to Lyman to Lamar, the arm of Oklahoma, down to Wheeler, Texas, over to Oklahoma, which is really faster, right? Because that's how the drivers take it all the way to Texas, pretty much Amarillo, and you can go across east and you can go back to over Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Usually there's like 1,000 trucks when we do that run from Colorado to Lyman, all the way down to Wheeler, Texas. There was hardly any during the holidays. Our question is, was it just because of the holiday loads, or was it just because the freight was down? That's the question I had for you last week.
I think a little bit of both. Well, so one, I think freight was up there, but I think a lot of drivers took the end of the year off where they normally don't. You know what I mean? Where they normally push a little bit to get that extra money. And I think a lot of them were just taking it off. And then you had a high thing of freight trying to get out. So I think a lot of it was carriers taking off the last week for the holiday and stuff like that, to be honest.
Yeah, because usually in the summertime, we get ran over. And yes, drivers do not do the speed limit like think everybody does. They do pass you, even if you're in just a regular vehicle. They'll just pass you in a tractor trailer. I've never seen that before until I took that little run from Colorado to Lyman down to Wheeler, especially when they get into the Oklahoma arm into Wheeler, Texas. Wow. Look out.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not going that way. That much.
Yeah. And then because somebody did say that they did have our fatal accident off of I-70. I don't know if you remember that 5 years ago, but now we have stricter laws in this state, and we have stricter laws for our CDLs. So you have to pass this test before we can even drive on the roads of Colorado. I don't know about your state, but our state have very stricter laws because of that accident we had on I-70.
Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to. One of the conversations I want to have, and I know a lot of people want to say it's the foreign drivers, the non-domiciled drivers, and that's not a good thing. Like we do have that, and that is an aspect. What I don't want to say is that's the reason, because to be honest, the reason is poor training and poor CDL training and stuff like that, and I don't want to lose that aspect of it because that's an issue also. Like you can have the best, like I said, the reason I was able to drive in Quebec wasn't basically, I couldn't speak the language. It's just that I had better training. I had better trip planning. I had better training. And I made sure that, I had that going in so that I wouldn't get myself into an accident. So that was a big aspect.
You remind me of my best friend's aunt when she was ready to cry because she lost her job. As a secretary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know what she was going to do after COVID-19. And then somebody said, well, why don't you ever think about becoming a broker? And then she's like, wow. So she went to broker school. I mean, she reminds me, every time you talk about being a broker, everything, I think about her all the time.
Yeah.
She loves it. She puts her baby onto the school bus. She grabs her coffee, grabs her paperwork, and she's in that little office all day long telling drivers where to go, and she absolutely loves being a broker. So, yeah, every time you talk about being a broker, it just reminds me of her.
Yeah, it's tough. Like you couldn't do what I did. You couldn't do what I did, how I started now. It's too tough. But when I came in, I was able to do it. I just got crushed by this machine. But I appreciate you calling in, brother.
Yeah, like I was going to say, that's my minute, because I try to bring it down to a minute every day. But, yeah, going from Colorado to Lyman, we hardly see the trucks. I don't know if that was a holiday thing or what. So, yeah, we wanted to ask you that question last week. Okay, thanks, Sage.
All right, see you, brother.
That's funny, Sage. Everybody always compares you to a woman.
I know. Why? I'm always being compared to a woman. What is going on here? I think I'm going to dress like Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm going to get a Miss Doubtfire wig. Hello, and welcome to the Freight Broker Show. I think I'm going to have to do that because I'm always being compared to somebody's aunt, somebody's woman. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's. I don't know what it is. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm fine with it. I'm good with it. It happens. It happens. But thank you, my producer, for making sure that I am fully aware of that. I swear to God. All right. Anybody else want to ring in?
His number, 856-600-4654. Sage Outcast. I have questions.
I do. I have questions. I have questions that I just... Where's this guy? I hear gunfire. I have questions. I just ran into that stupid robot because I didn't have the volume up enough. So I didn't hear him coming. Anyways. But that's pretty much it. So, that was pretty much my show. So I'm going to go ahead and duck out of here and go do my other job. If you guys have any other questions, you can shoot me an email at sageoutcast.com. Hang on a second. If you guys are... I've got lots of things going on here. If you're an open deck, reach out to me because I'm currently on fire. But if you are an open deck, reach out to me. I want to talk to open decks. I've got a lot of access to open decks. I got a lot of access to being put on fire. There's another one right there. See what happens when I'm not paying attention? Oh! I got unalived. I got unalived already. All right, this is going to be a different experience. I'm going to have to only be able to play this when people are talking to me on the phone. You know what I'm saying? I got to go back there. I got to lose my stuff. All right, that being said, I'm out. I blame you, Teach. I blame you. I actually don't go nowhere because I'm going to need that stuff. All right, bye-bye.
Hello, Sage. This is Cody, or how, wait a minute. Is my name, Cody or Colby? I'm not really sure. So, I will, there in fact, internally, hang on a second, god damn it, I'm trying to, wait a minute. I think your name might be Sully. I don't fucking know what your goddamn real name is. Alright, give me a call back. Wait a minute. Sage. I'm sorry.